Hello and welcome to another episode of Sockcasts Clears, the Arknights show where I have a clear that I think is interesting enough for me to talk over for your viewing pleasure and edutainment. This is episode number 3, and today we are on OR-S-3, and I thought I'd do something special today because this is our first episode where I'm featuring a clear that is not my own. I got blanket permission from the illustrious Lance of Colliginous Insight to commentate their back catalog to see if I find anything interesting. And with the rerun of Such Is the Joy of Our Reunion kind of wrapping up here soon in favor of Wong's event coming up later this week, I thought I'd figure, you know what, I'll bring out the green screen, challenge myself a little bit in terms of how I'm taking this show format, and also get a really good clear commentated along the way. This clear has a lot of elements of what I'm kind of trying to look for in the series, and this is going to be OR-S-3 with welfare units only. I know it's a niche, but it is an accessible niche, so we'll get into that shortly. Let me step out of the way here, and bear with me, of course. This is my first time doing all this, and I'm just an amateur video maker, but we're gonna roll with it here. So I'm gonna be pausing throughout this entire video here. It's way too fast-paced for me to get all of the talking points that I want to talk about in one foul swoop. So here we're gonna load in, and I'm just gonna pause before the first unit deployed here because, as you can see, look at this unit lineup. This is all welfare units that you can get without having to pull a single thing. Senshi is a notable exception, of course, here. He's like somewhere in the that section of the bar, and he's from a limited collab, so he's not always going to be available, but really, he's just doing a Guardian Defender's job. And this is one of the big lessons of Arknights that I want to strive to teach, is that there are always multiple solutions to the same problem. And the problem here is that we need someone who can tank, has a high number of block to clump up enemies, and we need them to maybe heal themselves, right? Senshi fits the bill. Not the best thing to, or not, arguably not the best operator to do the job, but since this is a welfare niche, he's our man. He's our man. But the nice thing about welfare niches is that they're often units that are kind of slightly weaker versions of units that you can replace them later with. So that comes in handy quite a bit here. Let's go ahead and see this opening open up, so to speak, and we have Puzzle going out first. He's actually gonna farm DP with his skill 2. Not very often that we get to see his skill 2, because normally he doesn't really have the chance to charge it up all the way, and it takes a little bit for him to cycle it. It's a lot more expensive, but it does deal a lot of arts damage, and so we're gonna make good use of that, trying to clear out this fire thing here. I don't actually have the names of the enemies memorized like I normally do for this stage, so I apologize there. Lessing is gonna go out and take care of this one right here in the upper left, and then for the center we'll deal with that eventually, but we're gonna put in Gladia here since she is actually a really good replacement for a Pioneer Vanguard. You know, she's got 2 blocks, she's sturdy enough, and she'll get the job done, but what sets her apart here is the regen, right? And so she's gonna lane hold for quite a bit, and you can use her skills to pull, of course, and then we will do so later. I should say Lance will do so later. But here, Gladia is a multitasker, and so that's what makes her a really, really good unit to pick up no matter what niche you're playing, right? You're just going to have her on hand, and when you need shift, she'll provide it. Otherwise, she's just a solid unit to maybe hold a lane or two before your other units can get out. And while she might not necessarily generate DP like a Pioneer Vanguard would, she is going to be pretty dang good value for the DP cost. And so the other thing too is that Lessing here is on skill 2, and so he has similar vibes to Scotty and her skill 2 in that they're both designed to just kind of have them thrown out in there into the fray and just get stuff done. Technically, they are dreadnoughts, so you could throw in Melantha here, but the thing about the lower rarities is that they are more basic units, or, you know, more basic versions of the units that will eventually quote-unquote replace them. And so Melantha's not going to have enough time to get her skill off, and she's not as tanky as her high rarity counterparts. And I think Lessing is a pretty sizable upgrade here, especially since his kit is definitely geared towards resisting damage from things that aren't blocking him. And when you combine that with his module upgrade later, you will see just that in action. He has enough tankiness to survive this little onslaught that we task him with. But he's just going to take out that one for now as we go ahead and advance playback. There goes the Gladius skill. Not going to necessarily be using it for the pull, but just for the extra crowd control. Snowson gets set up in the left lane here. She isn't E2'd, she doesn't have to be. She can do her job just fine at skill level 7 with the maximum shift force there. Senshi being dropped in, again, he's just being used to lane hold this middle lane here. So nothing too fancy there. And then of course we have another activation on Puzzle all the way on the right there to actually take out that enemy there with that arts damage. Again, very rarely seen. I personally prefer the puzzle skill one, but yeah. Let's see, I paused a little bit too early here, so let's just advance just a smidge, just so you can see that we have 2 of our key units dropping down here. So of course, we have Jiayun. Yenese is not my first language, bear with me. She is going to be covering this middle section here. There's going to be a lot of trash mobs just kind of funneling through here, and she's going to have a skill on offensive recovery, so not only is she dealing AoE damage with her auto attacks, which pairs well with the Senshi right here to cluster enemies, but when the enemies with taunt come in, she's going to want to aim towards those enemies and not necessarily on Senshi's position where, you know, we need trash mobs to be cleared out. And so her skill is the key to this clear being viable, at least with her specifically. And I think that's a really nice touch there, is that even though there are multiple solutions to the same problem, some solutions work well because of how unique each and every operator kit can be. Over here on the right hand side, we have a Cruz Altar, and you're going to see why she's so important once this enemy spawns in. Give it a few moments here. There goes the trash mobs there. I'm going to be switching between having mouse control and actually physically gesturing here, so this is all new to me, but hey, we're learning. So there we go. Cruz is starting to activate her skill there, and there we have a Vapidity. Vapidities only take 1 damage per attack. You want attack speed, and you want things that can attack multiple times per attack. This is a hit count challenge. It doesn't matter how big your attack number is, it only relies on hit count, and Cruz is the girl to do it. She has multiple ways to just kind of boost her hit count in general. She has naturally higher attack speed from being a marksman, and her range is just perfect for this right-hand side, but she might struggle to DPS down the spawner enemy. She's good DPS, don't get me wrong, but we're going to have a little bit of assistance come in the form of Cold Shot. And also, we're going to pop the Jiayun skill here, so this is going to be dealing lots of AoE. It's going to be slowing enemies that come through this choke point here, which allows anything that's targeting that area to deal more damage before it gets to Senshi's position, and then he's under threat. So this is going to mitigate a lot of damage just by virtue of slowing things down and giving more breathing room. And also going to take out this big boy right here. Always a plus. So meanwhile, Cold Shot. Cold Shot is like the opposite of Cruz here. She deals a lot of damage, but she likes to do so in high single hit damage instances with her ammunition mechanic. So she'll attack slower after she's expended all of it, but she's going to be great for taking out those priority 1 threats at range. This is like a 5-tile range. She's not going to be distracted by any of the other stuff off to the sides. She is perfectly positioned to attack this spawner enemy and just get loads of damage using her ammo there. So really, really smart choice in terms of units there. Like we could maybe use, I don't know, Besieger or like, you know, what have you. But again, that subclass is very, very strong. I believe they're called Hunters, but don't quote me on that. I claim to be good at this game. No, I don't. I don't claim to be good at this game. I'm not going to remember everything, and I'm learning just as well as you are, hopefully, here. So, looks like that chakram is just going to run out of duration here. We're going to let things play through. And now we have a frog in the upper well, I guess mid-center here. So this frog, very, very big threat on the battlefield. This thing, as long as it has a coin in its hand, it's going to expend that coin to deal a massive instance of a single target hit damage, right? And this thing flings it at range too, so once it gets close enough, your units are not safe and things are going to get hairy. So first off, we consider the Lumen, but you know, he's just going to get coins. So instead, we send in Puzzle. Puzzle is not just a Vanguard, he is the fast redeployment option here. Not as fast as an Executor, but as you can see, he gets the job done very nicely and baits out that coin attack, and will even get the retreat to get slightly more DP back as a refund, so that allows us to safely deploy Ask Jenny here for a little bit of arts damage to go along Jillian's physical. And they kind of work well with each other since they're going to both be offering slows. Ask Jenny just has more uptime on her slow, but it's more of a constant trickle. And then, of course, for big moments, we opt for the Jia skill, which will come out right about now as this frog is coming through here. And I'm going to pause since we also brought in Lumen. Lumen is a very, very good healer. And provides a whole lot of HP per second, and can also counter a lot of good status effects that aren't elemental as well. But just Lumen paired with Senshi's healing, Senshi's gonna be fine. All units under Lumen's coverage are gonna be fine, provided that he lives, and he will live for the majority of this. But here comes another Chakram. It's gonna be shredding through a whole lot, and that's gonna combine with the next play available, which is to send that dragon out. There's a lot of true damage coming out here, and Jillian wants to damage that frog there that is threatening Senshi. Like, Lumen's good, but we want some insurance here, and so this AoE is perfectly in between the two things that she's wanting to take out here. She's going to be dealing AoE damage to the taunt enemies, she's going to be dealing AoE damage to that high priority threat, and she gets both. Astrony's skill is also twin targeting right now, and she's going to get caught up with the taunt enemies here, but they're going to chain in between each other, and that's good clustering. And in general, having slow helps to cluster enemies effectively as well, so I really like this solution. And of course, on this side here, not a single Vapidity has made it to the stove, so we're not going to be harassed from the Vapid Dragon just kind of going out here and blasting all of our units to Kingdom Come here. So very, very smart play from Lance as per usual here. We're going to take out that spawner enemy, and we're going to go into the second half of this stage here. Gonna wait for the snipers to take care of business here. Now Cruz has to retreat. This tile, again, is very important because now Gladia is in play. I'm gonna go ahead and pause there again for just a moment here. So Gladia all the way over here. This is a hotly contested tile because there are gonna be the three enemies here that are eventually gonna go airborne if you do not manage to pull them into the hole, right? You can deal with them with anti-air. I mean, you know, you just take an Exo Alter and just go to town, right? But we don't have that option, so what do? We engage with the stage mechanics, right? This thing is just asking you to pull them in. However, Hookmasters in this game have very limited range. They can only maybe get the center one most of the time. And so, of the Hookmasters in the game currently, only Gladia and Cliffheart can actually grab all three. All three of these tiles here. However, with the specific constraints of this clear here, only Gladia is able to take this position, and we will see why in just a moment here. Let's go ahead and advance the playback here. A little bit of a cleanup on the Frog Isle here, but that's good. But hey, more of these elemental damage sources right here. This is pretty dangerous, and you know, we got to deal with it some way, somehow, and we're going to have just enough DP to get Lessing in there, and he's going to do his job again as a Dreadnought guard. You know what? Dreadnoughts, they might have fallen out of favor with, like, Crushers and stuff, but, like, just look at this. Physical damage, 1v1, no frills, just stats. It's just that simple, and we're going to see him take care of business here. Let's advance a little bit more. There's a lot of stuff happening on the left side, but it's mostly just like lane holding there. And Gladia will get that, get the flying enemies, or soon-to-be flying enemies, into the holes first. And the skill activation, the skill timing on Gladia's is a little bit later so that she can catch that last one over there before it's all done and we don't have to wait for another skill cycle. However, she is taking a lot of damage from this AoE circle here, but she is able to survive the burn proc, not only because she's, you know, leveled to E2, but also because of that regen passive. She has just enough in the tank, and that's why only Gladia can take this position without medic support. We could take a Wandering Medic, mind you, to heal and not deal with this, but do you see a Wandering Medic on this team? There is none. Again, multiple solutions to the same problem in Arknights. You can engage with the mechanics one-to-one, but if you're smart enough or crafty enough or experienced enough to know that, oh, I have this option, you will have that knowledge to experiment with this sort of thing, no matter if you're playing a niche or if you're just wanting to win with your favorites, which I personally like doing. So go ahead and advance the playback here. Lessing's getting pretty low there. Look at that HP. And he's back up to full. Not actual full, but just enough to get the job done. Takes out 2 of those high priority targets all by his lonesome there. And that's the power of having module access as a 6-star. And the Dreadnought module that allows you to go back up to full HP, but get your max HP cut in half, but get a little bit of offensive bonuses. I think it's like attack speed and stuff. Very, very potent, and that's literally the breakpoint that allows Lessing to get the job done on those enemies specifically. Alright, well, we got another frog, so you know what that means. Puzzle is back out here to bait another coin, no problem. And, you know, all this time, this lane has been holding, right? There's a lot of tanky threats and, like, you know, a lot of chaff to chew through, but no problem for our units here, and so very, very good unit choice. Now, Cold Shot here is going to take a little bit of damage from the elementals here, and it's actually, we don't have anything else to deal with the elementals coming in, right? So this lane is completely unfounded here. Gladia has been retreated, and we'll get Cruise Alter back on her post very, very soon. She's back up in like about 3.6 seconds, so she is going to be back on that post, and hopefully we did get some Vapidities on the stove, but rest assured, this stove is staying secure, and we want to wait for this enemy to pass first as well, because otherwise this tile will be contested. But they're going to pass on through, which means our left side here is going to take a lot of pressure. But we have an answer to that. It's Jaeyun again. So let's go ahead and resume playback. And look at that Chakram just shred literally everything in this 3x3 tile. There's the cruise deployment. We have one more frog coming in, and we've held off just enough to get another dragon charge off of our friendly stove, and that's going to chew through everything while we've been stalling out with the Chakram there. Very, very potent stuff. And again, you get more effective damage dealt when you use the slow and crowd control to your advantage. And the dragon came out a little late. That's to get those 3 ones that spawn late as well. And so Puzzle wasn't back in time to bait for Lumen, so he kind of eats it there. But honestly, this is just cleanup duty, and Puzzle can inflict a lot of single target DPS from his position right here. And so yeah, we're just going to clean up here, and that's the stage. Snowsant is retreated as well. Everyone whose job is done gets retreated, and that is a relatively clean welfare only clear, if I do say so myself. So what can we take away from this? First off, again, multiple solutions to the same problem in Arknights. Barring like the highest top end of the top end here, you're going to have options whenever you deal with problems in Arknights, and you just have to kind of figure out, okay, what is the stage actually asking of me, and what do I have in my operator roster to address that? And more often than not, you'll reach for your meta picks, but the more you play, the more you will kind of just kind of get acclimated to your units, and to figure out, oh, I can get away with this because this is the way that this unit interacts with that problem. It's all a big game of problem solving. And then the other thing that I want to have as a big takeaway here is that this might have been a welfare clear, right? But these are very much replaceable units with, you know, better versions of the class if you have them, because they are being used in a more fundamental way that don't necessarily always rely on the unique kits that each operator has, right? It's kind of like in the middle. There are some, like, you know, operator-specific perks like Gladia and Jaeyun, and of course Cruise Alter, that have been kind of defining their roles and whatnot, but they are interchangeable. And then if you have to compensate with, like, say, another operator, or maybe, you know, a little bit extra stats to pad it with, then you can do so. That's the nature and way of getting better in Arknights, and that's how you kind of work your way up that ladder to start doing Niche Knights clears yourself, or to just start having a little bit of fun with some other challenges, regardless of niche, right? You can try to get into stages or game modes that you haven't previously tried, and that's because, you know, eventually you'll have the time to kind of stabilize once you've got stuff in order here. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you who are supporting this series so far. This is not doing well on the algorithm view-wise, so I appreciate any good word that you guys can spread about this series. And if you have a clear that I think would be interesting, or that you think that I would find interesting, go ahead and hop on my Discord, send it in the forum channel that I have set up for submissions. Also, if you're old school, you can actually email me using my YouTube page. There's an email on the button there that you can send a link to the clear there as well. Again, I must have permission to use the clears in these kinds of videos here, so don't go just sending me like the cracked niche Nets player that, you know, is doing like all sorts of like one-tile relays. I need permission. All right, like let's try to be cool about this. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I do have another episode planned for the Wong event coming out very soon, probably with my own clear. And I don't know if you guys like the green screen weatherman bit here, then let me know. I'd be more than happy to try and do it again. And this is in preparation actually for another video that I want to do very soon here. It's the big long-term one that I've been working on, and I wanted to get that out actually last week. But it's been really difficult. So, you know, smaller projects like these help me work with my, you know, whatever I have on hand, and to kind of push myself to make the bigger ideas that I want to make. So I will see you guys then. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you guys next time.